It was just an ordinary stone statue. Until one day, a miner accidentally knocked it over, and the statue smiled. A twisted, eerie smile. But in truth, the world had already started to change long before that. Mysterious portals had appeared across the globe, unleashing endless waves of monsters. Human weapons and armies were powerless against them. Civilization was on the brink of collapse. Just when all hope was lost, certain humans began to awaken strange powers, abilities capable of fighting back. People called them the Awakened. Thanks to them, humanity gained the power to close the portals and began its journey to conquer these alien dimensions. But he was just another nobody. His name was Li Yi, a broke interdimensional miner, risking his life every day to dig for energy stones in a world crawling with death. In the otherworldly dimensions, there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that exposure to radiation could awaken a normal person, turning them into an awakened. But far more often, that same radiation simply kills you. For miners like Li Yi, no one was stupid enough to bet on those odds. Everyone wore heavy-duty radiation suits just to stay alive. Today, Li Yi and his team entered the mining zone, as usual, ready to start another long day. But before a single pickaxe could strike the ground, a violent tremor shook the entire region, the ground itself roaring like a beast. At first, everyone thought it was just an ordinary earthquake. Then, out of nowhere, a razor-sharp claw burst through their supervisor's chest. Blood sprayed everywhere. Panic exploded. From a twisting rift in the air, grotesque creatures, known as abominations, began crawling out. The miners ran, screaming for their lives. But one by one, they were caught and torn apart. Damn it! The exit portal is still over 10 kilometers away. At this rate, there's no way they could outrun the monsters. Even the miners who tried to escape by truck were chased down. The creatures flipped the vehicles like toys, tearing everyone inside to pieces. Li Yi watched in horror as 2 abominations charged toward the surviving passengers in the truck. But then, boom, the truck exploded in a massive fireball. The 2 monsters were engulfed in flames, shrieking in agony as they burned. Li Yi's eyes widened. Fire. They're afraid of fire. Scattered all over the ground were torches, still burning from earlier work shifts. Just then, one of the abominations lunged at him. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack, then rolled to grab a nearby torch. With a roar, he swung the flaming torch at the creature, driving it back with every strike. Just as he thought, those things wouldn't come near the fire. Li Yi shouted the discovery to the others, wasting no time. The miners, desperate and panicked, immediately began searching for anything flammable. But the torches on the ground wouldn't last long. They needed more. Then it hit him. There was gasoline stored in the supply room. If they could block the entrance with fire, maybe they could hold out until rescue arrived. Stick together, he yelled. Everyone regrouped, moving carefully as a unit toward the supply room. Once there, they poured the gasoline at the mouth of the cave. The abominations kept advancing, step by step, toward the flammable zone. Now, Li Yi roared. Everyone hurled their torches. A wall of fire erupted in front of them, blazing high and bright, holding the monsters at bay. Li Yi, if you hadn't figured out their weakness, we'd all be dead by now. No question about it. But just then, Li Yi noticed something strange, a bizarre stone statue standing on top of a wrecked truck nearby. He recognized it immediately. It had been unearthed deep in the mine weeks ago. Supervisor Wong once bragged he was planning to sell it on the black market for some extra cash. Meanwhile, 2 miners were frantically screaming into their radios, begging for help. The response came in cold and cruel. Rescue would arrive in roughly 2 hours. What? Our suits only have about 90 minutes of energy left at most. A heavy silence fell, until 3 miners suddenly made a grim proposal. There's not enough power for all of us to survive. So maybe one person gives up their energy for the rest of us. And the person they chose to sacrifice was Li Yi. You're just an orphan with nothing and nobody, drowning in debt. What's the point of you living? So do us all a favor. Hand over your suit's power cell. Before Li Yi could react, a metal rod smashed into his side. They ripped off his helmet and yanked out the battery. Hey, maybe you'll get lucky. 1 in 1,000 shot at awakening from the radiation. Don't forget to thank me if you do. Lee glared at them through clenched teeth. If I awaken, I swear you'll be the first one I kill. But the group wasn't done. They turned to the others, grinning like wolves. So who's next? Who wants to try their luck at becoming a hero? One man, panicked and pale, shoved his 2 teammates aside and bolted, sprinting toward the wrecked truck as fast as he could. You push me to this. If I die, you're all coming with me. The miner screamed and floored the accelerator, sending the truck barreling toward the cave entrance. But at that exact moment, the stone statue on the truck shifted and crashed to the ground, landing right in front of Lee E. Lee E stared at it, his lips curling in a bitter smile. What, are you laughing at me now? Even a damn statue's mocking me. Great. Suddenly, one of the abominations burst through the firewall and smashed the statue's head with a single kick. A massive claw followed, swinging straight toward Lee E. He froze, heart sinking. Why? Why does it always have to be me? Is it really just because I'm the easiest one to crush? He grew up drowning in insults and contempt. Even learning the truth behind his parents' deaths was a dream too far to reach. Every whistleblower letter he wrote all ended up in the hands of the very corporation he tried to expose. Powerless and alone, he could only grit his teeth and endure the abuse. Even this lousy mining job, yeah, that was a gift from his enemies. A final attempt to squeeze out whatever was left of him. If I'm gonna die anyway, might as well drag you bastards with me. With a crazed look in his eyes, Lee opened his mouth wide and bit into the creature's arm. The abomination roared and flung him aside like trash. He crashed into the ground with a thud. He spat out black blood and grinned. So that's what a monster tastes like. Disgusting. As Li Yi's life slipped away, a cold, mocking voice echoed in his mind. Really? That's all you've got? I thought you'd be special. Turns out you're just another insect flailing before death. Tell me, do you want power? Do you want revenge? Give me your body, and I'll grant you everything you've ever wanted. Gritting his teeth, Li Yi roared back. Screw you. I'd rather die than become your puppet. The shadow paused, then chuckled darkly. Interesting. Very interesting. You really think you're in a position to say no? At that very moment, an abomination raised its claw to strike the killing blow. Ding! Shadow system activated. Dark mist burst from Li Yi's body, snaking through the air like living ink. In a blur, the shadow seized the creature's skull and slammed it into the ground with earth-shattering force. A massive, shadowy foot materialized in the air above. So, you're the insect that stepped on my statue? I hold grudges, you know. The next moment, the abomination was crushed into a pile of gore with a single stomp. This body feels exceptional. But then, another creature lunged from behind, claws raised to strike. The shadow simply smirked, controlling Li Yi's own shadow to counterattack. A colossal black mass erupted beneath the monster's feet. The abomination screamed as darkness surged up and swallowed a whole. Within seconds, it was gone, devoured by the void. TC still tastes like crap. Now it's your turn, scum. The 3 miners were pinned to the ground, bound tightly by Li Yi's shadows. Then the shadow voice paused. I'm curious, if I gave your body back, what would you do? Regaining control, Li Yi silently walked toward the 3, his gaze calm and deadly. Li Yi, wait, don't do this. We were just trying to survive. Yeah, and hey, if it weren't for us, you wouldn't even have awakened. So technically, we're even, right? Li Yi chuckled coldly. Oh, so I should thank you. The shadows suddenly released them. The 3 gasped in relief. No thanks needed. Just help us get out of here, that's all. Don't worry, Li Yi smiled. I'll let you go, and I've even prepared a little gift. With a wave, his shadows reached forward and tore off their radiation helmets. Within seconds, 2 of them were choking on blood, collapsing as the radiation tore through their bodies. Li Yi held the 2 stolen power cells and walked toward the last 2 surviving miners. They trembled in fear. Relax. These are yours, he said, handing them the batteries. Stay alive. From deep within, the shadow scoffed. Spare me your worthless compassion. Mercy will only drag you deeper into hell. But Li Yi ignored him completely, turning away and heading toward the cave entrance. Outside, the path was swarming with abominations, dozens of them. More than he expected. The shadow's voice slithered back in, amused. What's wrong? Getting nervous? Let me take over. I'll wipe these pests out in seconds. Look at you, legs shaking already. Come on, hand me the controls. Shut up, Li Yi growled. I'm done being your puppet. With that, he leapt into the air, narrowly dodging a claw swipe. As he soared, his eyes widened. His body, it felt light as air. Even his durability had clearly improved. Suddenly, a sharp hiss cut through the air. A creature lunged from behind, jaws wide open. Li Yi sensed it instantly. He dodged to the side on pure reflex. Whoa, even my reaction time's gotten faster. Curious, he raised his arm and watched as black energy swirled around it like a living mist. The darkness coated his fist completely, hardening it like obsidian armor. With a roar, he threw a punch, bang, and sent the charging abomination flying backward like a rag doll. Li Yi stared at his own hand, stunned. This strength, this is insane. But then his eyes narrowed. No, fists won't be enough. There are too many of them. I need a weapon. Channeling the shadow within, dark energy spiraled around his palm. In an instant, a dagger formed from pure shadow solidified in his hand. Shadow morph, dagger. The same abomination he'd knocked back came charging again, shrieking with rage. Li Yi smirked. Perfect. Let's see what this dagger can really do. A flash of black light, and the creature was sliced clean in half. He had once thought it impossible that someone like him could ever kill an interdimensional monster. But now, he'd become what others could only dream of and awakened. He finally had the power to fight back against this cruel world. Mom, Dad, I swear I'll uncover the truth behind her deaths. He didn't know how long the battle had lasted. Eventually, he collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. All around him were corpses, monsters torn to pieces, the floor soaked in blood. Ding. System notification. Race, human class, E-rank advancement, complete. The scene faded. Li Yi had been rescued and brought back to the human world, but with his body overwhelmed and still adjusting to the new rank. He now lay unconscious in a hospital bed, hovering between exhaustion and awakening. Just as the doctor and nurses left the room, a swirling shadow began to rise from within Li Yi's body. Why E-rank? With my status and power, after his awakening, he should have at least been A-rank. Hell, even B-rank would make sense. But now you tell me this is just an E-rank shell? Why can an E-rank even activate the shadow system? I don't understand any of this. As the shadow raged on, Li Yi's eyelids flickered, slowly regaining consciousness. You again? Who are you? Why do you keep following me? The shadow spoke immediately, its voice dripping with disdain. Fine. Listen up, you lowly human. I am the ancient supreme of the Entropy Kings, ruler of the abyssal realms. I command you to offer your body to me. Once I reclaim my throne from the traitors of my kin, you will receive untold rewards. Upon hearing this grand proclamation, Li Yi couldn't believe a word of it. Inside, he sneered, You look like a damn dung beetle. There's no way I'll give you my body, even if you begged me. To his surprise, Li Yi's thoughts were fully audible to the shadow. Dung beetle? How dare this pathetic human call me that? The shadow hissed in fury, its voice dripping with disdain. No more words. Offer your body. That's the only value you have left. But Li Yi's thoughts were going in a completely different direction. Wait a minute. Is it after my beauty? How'd it latch onto me like this? Offer my body? Could it be possession? This thing's got to be sick. Maybe I shouldn't provoke it. What if it forces itself on me? Not that I wouldn't, but this thing's sexless. What if it's... Hearing Li Yi's vulgar thoughts, the shadow was disgusted beyond belief. Enough. What's going on in that filthy head of yours? The shadow roared in frustration. If I'm going to ruin my eyes, why did I have to pick this E-rank human? If it wasn't for the emergency back then, I'd have chosen a damn dog before this E-rank trash. Without another word, the shadow activated a spatial teleportation array in the corner of the room, tossing Li Yi into it with no mercy. You have 3 days. If you don't reach D rank by then, I'll erase you completely. Just then, from the depths of the cave, a monstrous creature began to emerge. Thanks to the knowledge base in the shadow system, Li Yi instantly recognized it, the shielded guardian worm. He gripped his shadow dagger tightly, but no matter how hard he slashed, the creature remained completely unharmed. Damn it, I don't believe your back is just as tough. The next moment, a loud clang echoed through the cave, like striking an iron plate, but it did nothing. The creature was so tough all over. What the hell am I supposed to do? I'm not backing down. I'll take you down one way or another. With a roar, Li Yi charged again, slashing furiously at the creature, shouting, "This damn bug doesn't have any weaknesses." At that moment, the shielded guardian worm struck back, swinging one of its razor-sharp claws and sending Li Yi flying. He crashed hard into the wall, leaving a crater in the stone. But as he struggled to get up, Li Yi noticed something strange. A green, sticky substance was clinging to his shoulder. The same liquid was dripping from one of the creature's claws. "That's its blood." A smug grin crossed Li Yi's face. "I've found your weakness." He swung his shadow dagger with precision, and with a swift strike, he severed the injured claw of the shielded guardian worm. The shadow, watching from the side, sneered. "TSK, TSK. After all that effort, you just broke one of its claws. What's the point?" But Li Yi knew better. Without that front claw protecting its vulnerable areas, hitting the shielded guardian worm's weak spots would be much easier. Without hesitation, Li Yi reshaped his shadow dagger. In an instant, a massive shadow spear materialized in his hands. With a swift motion, he raised the spear high, impaling the shielded guardian worm and exposing its vulnerable abdomen. The reason the creature had been lying still all this time was that its weak point was in the belly. With a precise thrust, Li Yi pierced straight through it. Finally, he had won. The creature let out one last scream before it exploded in a burst of energy, dropping a glowing blue stone. An energy stone. Li Yi's eyes lit up as he picked it up. By absorbing enough energy, I can drastically enhance my abilities. Just as he was celebrating, strange noises echoed from the depths of the cave. Something was drawing closer. The shadow spoke calmly. "Aren't you going to use your shadow to see what's coming? Just channel your shadow energy into your eyes, and you'll activate the shadow eye skill." Li Yi followed the advice, opening his eyes wide. In the blink of an eye, a creature leapt from the darkness and launched a barrage of sharp spikes at him. Li Yi barely managed to dodge the incoming spikes. The spikes embedded deep into the cave's stone walls, and he noticed that they were not only covered in barbs, but also dripping with a green, corrosive poison. Damn, that was too close. So fast. What the hell are these things that keep darting around? As he dodged, Li Yi shouted at the shadow, "Is there something wrong with your shadow eye skill? Why can't I see them clearly?" The shadow responded with a sneer, "It's not the skill. It's your weakness." Hearing this, Li Yi immediately focused and began channeling more energy into his eyes, hoping to enhance his perception. The shadow sighed in the background. For an E rank, this human is controlling shadow energy so effortlessly. This is becoming interesting. As Li Yi poured more energy into his eyes, he could clearly make out the monsters around him. E rank leap claw grinders, E rank needle projectors. But then, a wave of panic washed over him as he noticed. A massive swarm of monsters was rapidly closing in. Shit, there's way too many of them. As the monsters continued charging forward, Li found himself surrounded by a horde of creatures in an instant. "You filthy bugs, get away from me." With a roar, Li Yi unleashed a burst of power, sending the monsters flying in all directions. To his surprise, this outburst triggered the awakening of his second-tier Shadow Eye ability. Shadow Eye Level 2. When shadows become your pupils, every heartbeat of your enemy is their death knell. In that moment, Li Yi could see the oncoming attackers with perfect clarity, dodging their strikes with ease. The weaknesses of these creatures were now fully exposed. all thanks to the advantages of his second-tier shadow eye. With a furious yell, Li Yi activated his area of effect skill, Shadow Impale. With a swift movement, he obliterated every monster in his path and instantly gained a massive amount of experience. However, reaching D rank still seemed a distant goal. Just then, a leap claw grinder lunged at him, its sharp claws almost striking the killing blow. Li Yi reacted instantly, using his Shadow Morph skill to summon a strong, unyielding lasso and bound the creature tightly. Without hesitation, he thrust his dagger, swiftly ending the creature's life. With every battle, Li Yi's combat skills grew more refined, and the speed at which he gathered energy stones increased dramatically. However, just then, Li suddenly felt dizzy and lightheaded, his vision starting to blur. The voice of the shadow echoed in his mind, calmly explaining, "You've overused your shadow eye power, depleting a large amount of your mental energy. You're close to your limit now. Damn it, I can't fall here. I need to reach D rank before the nest closes." Those bastards at the NG Corporation, how dare they cover up the truth behind my parents' deaths? They've shamelessly forced me to mine for them, just because I'm nothing more than an ordinary person. But now, I finally have the power to change everything. I will not give up. I'm going to drag those high and mighty bastards into hell and make them kneel before my parents' graves to repent. At this moment, Li Yi's rage continued to fuel the shadow system inside him. His power surged through his body. The breakthrough just a step away, and the nest was closing in only 3 seconds. Without hesitation, he unleashed all his strength and leaped directly into the horde, charging into the fray. D rank breakthrough completed at 100%. You have successfully advanced to D rank. After relentless effort, Li Yi finally achieved his breakthrough and ascended to D rank within the given time frame. At that moment, a massive black sword in the corner caught his eye, its aura radiating power. The shadow spoke. "This nest was once the rookie trial ground for my people. This dagger," the shadow paused. "By human standards, it should be A rank." Li Yi picked up the massive black sword in shock. "You're telling me this giant sword is a dagger? Are your people giants?" Without hesitation, Li Yi collected all the powerful equipment scattered around. Black Gold Dagger +1, Fong Wolf Dagger +1, Wildling Dagger +1. The shadow sounded confused. "Compared to my shadow energy, these weapons are nothing. What do you plan to do with this garbage?" Li Yi grinned. "Of course I'm going to sell them. But only D-Rank Awakened can sell equipment. So our first stop will be the registration hall." The scene shifted, and Li Yi found himself at the registration hall, his testing now complete. However, he was only given a certificate recognizing him as an E-Rank Awakened. While your physical stats are quite impressive, no energy fluctuations were detected, so we've classified you as E-Rank. Li Yi stared incredulously at the E-Rank certificate in his hand, gritting his teeth. Damn this shadow system. Turns out the shadow system is too advanced. Human technology is simply incapable of detecting the presence of shadow energy. This is going to make selling my equipment much more difficult. As the night fell, Li Yi made his way to the underground black market, carrying the massive black sword on his back. The black market was filled with all kinds of weapons. Li Yi entered, while the shadow inside him scoffed. Humans are so laughable, treating these scrap metals like treasures. They think just slapping a gem on them makes them legendary weapons. Just then, an impatient staff member shouted at Li Yi, "Get out of here. This isn't a place for miners. Is this how you treat your customers?" Li Yi smirked, pulling out the massive sword on his back. "Let's see if you know how to appraise this. Come over and tell me how much this one's worth." At that moment, a man and a woman walked toward them. Zhou Ting, D-Rank Awakened, and Su Qing, a commoner. Su Qing asked, "Tingu, didn't you say you were going to buy me a sports car? Why bring me here?" The staff member immediately dropped Li Yi and greeted them with a smile. "Ah, young Master Zhou, what fine treasure are you selling today?" Zhou Ting laughed, saying, "I just brought this sword back from the underground city, thinking of trading it for a sports car for my girlfriend. Turns out it's a D-rank wind howl sword with built-in attack bonuses. At that moment, Li Yi and Su Qing's eyes locked, and they instantly recognized each other. She had once been Li Yi's girlfriend, but after learning about his enormous debts, she had turned her back on him and left. Zhou Ting, realizing the man before him was Su Qing's ex-boyfriend, seethed with anger and began walking toward Li Yi, sword in hand. You, of all people, dare know Su Qing? I suggest you, a lowly human, get back to picking up trash or else. With that, he raised his wind howl sword and swung it forcefully toward Li Yi. A loud clang echoed through the air, and in the next second, Zhou Ting's wind howl sword shattered into pieces. Li Yi smirked. Looks like your sword is the real trash here. At this moment, Zhou Ting's face darkened, his rage reaching a boiling point. He raised his fist and charged at Li Yi, shouting, "You brat, I'll make you pay." But as his fist came crashing down, Li Yi simply sidestepped, dodging effortlessly. Undeterred, Zhou Ting used his right leg, launching a swift kick toward Li Yi. Yet, each attack was dodged with ease by Li Yi. This speed is so much slower than the monsters in the nest. At this moment, Zhou Ting was shocked beyond belief. Isn't this guy just an E-rank miner? Why can't I, D-rank, land a hit on him? Li Yi quietly released his shadow energy, using the shadow lasso to tightly bind Zhou Ting's arm. Zhou Ting, unaware, prepared to unleash his strongest attack, thinking to himself, miners like you should be crawling back to the caves. Li Yi sneered. By your logic, shouldn't those rabid dogs, who bite at everything, be laying on the ground obediently? With a swift tug, Li Yi yanked the lasso, flipping Zhou Ting hard onto the ground. Seems like you really enjoy lying on the ground, huh? At hearing this, Zhou Ting's rage flared up, and he charged toward Li Yi again. Just then, a loud shout echoed. Enough! Stop right there! Wang Defa, a level E, stepped forward and coldly said, "Zhou Xiao, didn't you know that fighting is strictly prohibited in my shop?" Su Qing pointed at Li Yi and said, "It's not him, Boss Wang. It's the damn miner who broke Zhou Xiao's sword." Upon hearing this, Wang Defa's interest was piqued. A miner's sword breaking Zhou Xiao's sword? This sword must be special. Li Yi calmly replied, "He swung at me first. This really isn't my problem." However, Wang Defa and Zhou Ting, already old acquaintances, whispered together, plotting their next move. Wang Defa whispered, "That guy's sword isn't ordinary." The usual deal? Zhou Ting immediately agreed. "Fine, money's mine, the goods are yours." Wang Defa walked toward Li Yi with a smile. "All right then, since young master Zhou trusts me, let me play the peacemaker. Hey kid, mind letting me take a look at that sword of yours?" But the moment Wang Defa took the sword, his body suddenly sank from the weight. He hadn't expected it to weigh over 100 pounds. Yet Li Yi had wielded it so effortlessly. Could he actually be an awakened? I need to test him further. Where did a miner like you get a weapon like this? Li Yi countered. Since when does the black market care about a seller's background or where the goods came from? Wang Defa quickly responded, "Oh, I was just curious. No offense if you'd rather not say." Watching his expression, Li Yi replied casually, "Nothing to hide, really. I found it while mining." Upon hearing that, a sinister grin crept across Wang Defa's face. So, he really is just a low-level miner. Wang Defa pretended to inspect the sword carefully. It's sturdy, I'll give you that. But no extra attributes, no elemental buffs. At most, it's worth a few $100. Now, young Master Zhou's sword, if it hadn't broken, would have easily fetched over 2 million. How about this? You're just a miner. Life must be hard. I'll do a good deed and take this junk sword off your hands. Just pay Zhou 2 million in damages. I'll cover the rest out of generosity. Zhou, what do you say? Zhou shrugged and said, "Fine. Since Boss Wang's stepping in, I'll let it slide." But the girl beside him, Su Qing, snapped, "No way. That damn miner can't possibly afford 2 million. What about the car you promised me?" Zhou Ting whispered to Su Qing, "Relax. Even if we just sell his organs, 2 million's totally doable." Wang Defa smirked and gestured to his 2 henchmen. "Take him. Li Yi sneered. Wow, you guys really got guts. Calling this robbery a fair deal? The moment he finished speaking, a surge of dark shadow energy erupted from his body. Too bad my little companion here isn't in a good mood. Wong Defa's thugs lunged toward him all at once. But with a single kick, Li Yi sent them flying like ragdolls. They crashed hard into the wall behind, leaving a loud, echoing thud. Li Yi stared coldly at Zhou Ting. All right, punk, your turn. Zhou Ting's body surged with red lightning as he launched himself forward at incredible speed. I'll admit, you've got some moves. But at the end of the day, you're still just a bottom-tier D-rank loser. Li Yi said nothing. He simply raised his hand, black shadow energy wrapping around his palm. Then, smack, Zhou Ting was slapped clear across the room. Zhou Ting roared in fury. You hit my face. No one's ever dared lay a hand on me. I'll send you straight to hell. With a furious shout, he fired a bolt of crackling red lightning. But Li calmly raised his hand and blocked it like swatting away a fly. Zhou Ting's eyes widened in disbelief. What the hell? It's like I just hit an invisible wall. Li Yi walked forward slowly, his voice icy. Since your daddy won't teach you a lesson, I'll do it for him. With a flick of his fingers, shadow energy morphed into web-like tendrils, binding Zhou Ting tight. Zhou Ting panicked. You're not just a minor. You're an awakened one. C rank? B rank? Li Yi shrugged lazily. Certified E rank minor. Ask the guild. Just as he was about to slap Zhou Ting again, the latter cried out, Wait, I'm with the Black Panther gang. Touch me and you're dead. At those words, Li Yi's expression turned pitch black. Black Panther? The scumbags who loan money at insane interest rates. Without another word, he unleashed a brutal flurry of punches, each one fueled by pure rage. Then, with a final kick, he sent Zhou Ting flying across the room. There's nothing I hate more than blood-sucking loan sharks like you. Just then, Wong Defa, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly grabbed a great sword and lunged at Li Yi. Without even turning around, Li Yi growled, scram. The sheer force of his voice sent Wong flying backward. Seeing Li Yi's overwhelming power, Zhou Ting panicked. Wait, it's all a misunderstanding. Here, 100,000. Consider it a gift of friendship. But Li Yi kept approaching, unmoved. Zhou Ting was now trembling. Okay, 500,000. Please, just don't hit my face again. Aren't you fond of loan sharking? Li Yi sneered. Then let's use your rules. Those 50 slaps? That was just the interest. Now comes the principal. Zhou Ting frantically pulled out a black VIP card. 500 grand. It's all yours. That's everything I've got. Li Yi accepted the card, eyes narrowing. NG Group's premium card. So you guys are the ones behind the mining camps and my parents' death. He tucked the card away, lips curling into a cold smile. Fine, I'll let you go for now. Let's see what bigger fish you'll lure in. Then he turned and walked away. After Li Yi left, Su Qing quickly stepped forward to help Zhou Ting up. Zhou Ting, fuming, demanded, You told me he was just a minor. How did he suddenly get so strong? Su Qing, helpless, replied, How was I supposed to know he'd suddenly become so powerful? Zhou Ting, burning with anger, slapped Su Qing across the face. If you hadn't said he was just a minor, I wouldn't have let my guard down and gotten ambushed. Zhou Ting was nearly beside himself with fury. That damn bastard. My money isn't so easy to take. You'll regret this. He immediately pulled out his phone and angrily dialed a number. In the ruins on the outskirts of the city, a man in black was on the phone. B-Boss Panther, you've got to help me. Some guy just stole the sword I was going to offer you. And he even threatened to wipe out the Black Panther gang. With Zhou Ting's exaggerated sob story, Boss Panther's interest in Li Yi was instantly piqued. Just then, a red-haired man stepped up behind him. Boss, the goods are secured. What should we do with the others? Boss Panther raised an eyebrow. Others? I don't see anyone else here, do you? The redhead got the message. Black threads shot out from his fingertips. In the blink of an eye, the survivors behind them were shredded into a cloud of gore. Boss Panther gave a cold order. Zhou Ting's got himself in trouble. Go help him out. Whether the target lives or dies. I don't care. Cut to the mission hall. Li Yi had just arrived. He calmly walked up to the front desk. I'm an E-rank ascender. Do you have any missions suitable for my level? A passerby overheard and burst out laughing. An E-rank? You lost, rookie? This section only posts D-rank and above. What? You trying to get yourself killed? A crowd quickly gathered, all mocking him like it was a circus act. Did this guy seriously just speak out loud? An E-rank dares to act like a real ascender. E-ranks are nothing but parasites living off our scraps. And now they want to compete for missions? Pathetic. Even the receptionist sneered. Get out. E-ranks wait outside. If a team wants to hire you, they'll come find you. Otherwise, you're wasting everyone's time. The 5 million he'd just gotten was already gone, snatched away by those damn loan sharks. Right now, Lee had one top priority: make money. Suddenly, an invisible pressure swept across the hall, suffocating everyone in an instant. All eyes turned to the entrance, where a team of elites strode in with quiet dominance. Leading the group was a woman radiating unmistakable B-rank energy. A B-ranker? What the hell is she doing in a place like this? Someone gasped. But Li Yi's eyes lit up. Powerful presence, yet she looked like a delicate heiress. No bloodlust, no killing intent. Was she suppressing it on purpose? Flashy on the outside, reserved inside. What a contradiction. Fascinating. The man beside the woman stepped forward and called out, D-rank mission in Beast Abyss. We need a D-rank awakener to work as a miner. Any takers? But under the crushing pressure of a B-rank powerhouse, the crowd flinched and hesitated. Only Li Yi remained calm and unbothered, as if nothing could shake him. The woman narrowed her eyes. A miner? He's unfazed by my aura? Now that's interesting. She pointed directly at Li Yi and told the staff, I'll take him. The staff member panicked. He hasn't even queued up or registered. That's against procedure. The woman turned, gave him a cold, sharp glare, and said, I am the procedure. The hall fell silent instantly. Li Yi quietly followed the woman out of the mission hall. Watching them leave, one of the staff muttered, Did the famous Chin from Longmen Street just handpick a miner? Who the hell is this guy? The scene cut to a dimly lit D-rank dungeon, where the team had already arrived. With just a single note from the bard's instrument, a monster's head exploded like a melon. This was clearly a well-oiled team. The tank stood firm at the front, soaking up enemy aggro. The swordsmen darted around, slicing through flanks with deadly precision. The bard in the middle boosted the team with buffs. Meanwhile, Li Yi trailed at the back, with nothing to do but wait to dig. With a B-rank powerhouse on their side, even an ambush wouldn't be a problem. It seemed like Li Yi wouldn't need to lift a finger this time. As Li Yi activated his shadow to scan the surroundings, he was stunned to discover an alarming number of minotaur beasts lurking beneath them, far more than what a typical B-rank dungeon should contain. That B-rank noble lady must have sensed it too. But why hadn't she warned the team? Did she already know and kept quiet on purpose? Soon, the group arrived at the target location, a massive mining cavern. One of the team members leaned in and whispered, Miss Chin, based on the intel, the Starlight Crystal Vein should be in there. Without hesitation, Chin turned to Li Yi. Miner, you're coming with me. Li narrowed his eyes, puzzled. She knew there was danger ahead, yet she walked in like it was nothing. Did she truly not care about her team's lives? Or was she so confident in her B-rank power that she believed nothing could touch her? Just then, the ground beneath them suddenly gave way. Li Yi and Miss Chin plummeted straight into the darkness below. As soon as they landed, they were greeted by a group of snarling, D-rank minotaur beasts. Miss Chin narrowed her eyes and slowly unsheathed her weapon. Finally, a chance to witness the true power of a B-rank elite. Her aura flared up violently, flooding the cavern with an overwhelming pressure. She looked ready to take on an army. But that image barely lasted 3 seconds before she silently stepped behind Li Yi. Miner, you go. I'll cover you. Li Yi stood there, completely dumbfounded. Was this woman serious? She's the B-rank powerhouse, and he was just a bottom-tier E-rank miner. Chin's confident facade cracked, and her cheeks flushed in embarrassment after being called out so bluntly. The next moment, Miss Chin collapsed to the ground in fear. I don't care. You have to protect me." Seeing Li Yi unmoved, she nearly burst into tears. "I'll give you 1 million. Just kill them all." That got Li Yi's attention. 1 million? Deal. All right then. Just for the money. I'll take care of them. With a flick of his hands, twin shadow daggers materialized as he calmly walked toward the Minotaurs. Instantly, 3 of them charged straight at him. Li Yi intercepted one with ease, but the other 2 slipped past him and lunged toward the heiress. At the last second, a magical barrier flared around Miss Qin, repelling the attackers. Li Yi blinked in surprise. Phew, for a second, I thought my paycheck was about to vanish. Just then, a minotaur leapt high into the air, its massive axe raised over Miss Qin. Li Yi quickly pulled a greatsword from his shadow storage, and with a powerful swing, cleaved the beast in 2. Wow, he quipped. These monsters seem really into you. But when he turned to check on her, she was already sprinting deeper into the cave. I'm out. You handle the rest. With a sigh, Li Yi cleaned up the remaining minotaurs in quick succession. Meanwhile, Miss Qin, thinking she was safe deeper inside, didn't notice a lurking minotaur silently creeping up behind her. By the time she sensed the danger, it was too late. The creature raised its club high and brought it down with a thunderous swing. Watching from afar, Li Yi tilted his head. She has spells to fight back. Why is she acting like a damsel in distress? Just then, a red glow suddenly emitted from the bracelet on Miss Qin's arm. In an instant, a protective barrier formed around her, and the minotaur that had been charging at her was sent flying, crashing into a wall several dozen meters away. As the barrier faded, the bracelet shattered with a loud crack. Li Yi was startled. That was a defensive item, so that earlier attack wasn't even her real strength. He quickly put it all together. So you're a non-combatant ascender. Realizing her secret was exposed, Qin immediately whispered, "You have to keep this between us." Li Yi grinned. "That's going to cost extra. But I'm more curious. Why are the Minotaurs only targeting you?" Just then, Li Yi heard a strange sound echoing from deeper within the cave. He immediately activated his shadow eye. Through the eye, he spotted a figure in the distance playing a flute. The figure was concealing his presence, which explained why Li Yi hadn't sensed him earlier. No wonder the Minotaurs were acting so strangely. These eerie sound waves were messing with their minds. Suddenly, a Minotaur charged at Miss Qin, causing her to scream out, "Li Yi!" Li Yi swung his greatsword, effortlessly decapitating the Minotaur in one strike. "Damn it," Li muttered. "More and more Minotaurs are gathering. I can't use my area of effect skills without risking hitting Qin. If I don't break this stalemate, I'll be worn out eventually." Then, an idea struck him. Since that guy's target is Qin, I'll just feed her to him. With a flick of his feet, Li Yi used his shadow powers to create chains, binding the Minotaur's legs. He then called out to Miss Qin, "Hey, your 2 protective items are used up and you're a non-combat ascender. You'd better watch out for any ambushes." Qin turned to him, bewildered. "Why are you saying all this?" Just then, a shadow appeared behind Miss Qin. The figure drew a dagger hidden inside the flute, sneering to himself. "Just a minor. Almost ruined my plan. A non-combat ascender with no protective items? Guess I'll send you off myself. Qin Siin, if you're to blame, blame your ungrateful father." Just as the assassin's dagger was about to strike Miss Qin, Li Yi reacted in a flash, slicing off the assassin's arm in one swift motion. Li Yi's eyes narrowed, recognizing the attacker immediately. "So, it's you, D-rank control bard, Liden. You're the one who used infrasound to control the Minotaurs to attack her, aren't you?" Liden gritted his teeth, seething with rage. "To think I'd fall to a damn minor. I must have underestimated you. But don't think you've won yet." With that, Liden spread his arms wide, his body surrounded by a red, swirling energy. He was absorbing the Minotaur's energy to boost his own power. The red energy solidified into the shape of a giant Minotaur, fully under Liden's control. Now witness the true terror of a control-type ascender. Li Yi's expression tightened. "That aura, it's C-rank." Suddenly, the ground cracked open and molten lava began to spill out. Su Qin gasped, Could it be a C-rank lava minotaur? Li Yi's mind raced. From D to C? This is ridiculous. Even I can't compare to that. As if on cue, a massive C-rank lava minotaur emerged from the earth. And at this moment, both Li Yi and Su Qing were still only D rank. Without hesitation, Li Yi swung his greatsword to intercept the minotaur's attack. Simultaneously, he summoned a protective shield using his shadow powers. But with the relentless onslaught of the lava minotaur, the shield began to melt under the intense heat. This is the destructive power of C rank, Li Yi thought. The two of us are barely enough. Su Qing, noticing the burns on Li Yi's face and arms, panicked. You're hurt. Just then, the lava minotaur's axe came crashing down once more. Li Yi quickly grabbed Su Qing and pulled her out of the way. At the same time, Li Yi used his shadow lasso to bind the lava minotaur's arm. Su Qing, astonished, asked, You have control abilities too? Li Yi didn't answer her. Hurry and go. I can't hold it for long. Listen, once you're in the maze, just run ahead as far as you can. What about you? Aren't you coming too? I need to hold it off so you can buy enough time to escape. Li Yi's eyes hardened. Hide yourself well. I'll be there soon. He thought to himself, After all, you're my 1 million. At that moment, the lava minotaur had broken free from its bindings and was rampaging through the cavern, searching furiously for Lady Qin. Yo, looking for someone? Li Yi suddenly appeared behind the beast, voice calm but mocking. The lava minotaur spun around, snarling. Where did you hide, Qin Xiyin? With a roar, it slammed its fist down where Li Yi had just been standing, shattering the ground into rubble. But Li Yi was already gone, vanishing in a blink and reappearing behind the monster. Without hesitation, he slashed down hard at the creature's massive leg. What? To his surprise, the blade barely left a mark. It was like cutting into solid rock. Ha ha, you think that weak little attack can hurt me? The lava minotaur mocked with a booming laugh. Then it lunged forward with another brutal punch, forcing Li Yi to leap back and widen the distance. This place is too tight. I need to lure him somewhere more open. It didn't take long before Li Yi led the lava minotaur into a wide clearing. Without wasting a second, he activated his Shadow Eye skill. While dodging the beast's wild attacks, he scanned its body for any signs of a weak spot. Soon, he spotted it, a glowing red core pulsing on the creature's back. Without hesitation, he raised his greatsword and swung straight for it. But just then, the Minotaur's massive fist came crashing back at him with terrifying speed. Against such overwhelming strength, even speed was useless. Li Yi was sent flying, slammed into the rocky wall with a bone-rattling thud. Blood trickled from his lips. So this is searing power? Meanwhile, the lava minotaur charged toward Li Yi with a thunderous roar. Let's see where you run this time. Realizing escape was no longer an option, Li Yi braced himself to go all out. He summoned his twin shadow daggers and launched a flurry of rapid strikes. But his blades barely scratched the beast, who swatted back with a mocking laugh. Is that all? Your little toys barely tickle me. Seizing a narrow opening, Li Yi leaped onto the creature's back once again. That's when he noticed. The weak point he'd found earlier was now radiating intense heat. So intense, even his shadow energy couldn't block it entirely. Damn, this thing's smarter than it looks. It's shielding its weakness with high temperature. The Minotaur turned and sneered. So you figured it out. Impressive for a bug. Too bad it doesn't matter. That spot's over 2,000 degrees Celsius. Tell me where Qin Xiyin is, and maybe I'll let you live. Li Yi smirked coldly. Sorry, I'm not dumb enough to bargain with a beast who eats betrayal for breakfast. Enraged by Li Yi's defiance, the lava minotaur roared. You're dead. He swung his massive battle axe down with terrifying force. Li Yi dodged swiftly and countered with his shadow morph, chain blades. The dark blades split mid-air, slicing toward the creature's exposed weak spot like venomous serpents. But just as they neared the target, the searing heat began melting the chains. Ha ha! Futile! The Minotaur bellowed with glee. Give up, insect! He launched another barrage of savage axe strikes. Li Yi gritted his teeth. His shadow energy was draining fast. He couldn't keep this up much longer. Should he call upon Qing Tian? No. Even if it kills him, he won't surrender his body again. Not to Qing Tian, not to anyone. Besides, if he takes down this C-rank monster himself, the EXP alone would be priceless. He had to win on his own terms. Without hesitation, Li Yi summoned a shadow spear and dove from midair, aiming straight for the Minotaur's weak spot. He growled through clenched teeth. "I will break through you. Now, break!" he shouted, unleashing his full force. The spear pierced the exact point of weakness. The lava Minotaur's health plummeted to near zero. But in a flash, the beast triggered Rage Unleashed. Its power, critical rate, and speed all surged by 200%. The next second, Li Yi was violently thrown back, smashing into a rock wall with a heavy thud. "A filthy little miner. Actually pushed me this far," the Minotaur snarled, eyes burning with fury. "But this is where you die," he roared and charged. Just then, Li Yi's body trembled. His heart pounded violently. Thump, 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 thump. A strange power surged from within. Li Yi's eyes widened. Was Qing Tian trying to take over again? No, this was different. This energy was stronger, deeper. Then Qing Tian's voice echoed in his mind. "Humph, that power has always been inside you. It took a near-death crisis and the baptism of lava to awaken it. Congrats, brat. You've just unlocked a new shadow form." Li Yi was stunned to realize that after unlocking shadow enhancement, level 1, not only were his wounds healing rapidly, his entire body was being reforged. The lava Minotaur stared in disbelief. Impossible. His injuries are recovering, and that eerie aura around him, it's getting stronger. I can't let him recover any longer. The beast roared and raised its giant axe, slashing toward Li Yi with deadly force. But Li Yi sidestepped with ease, completely unfazed. The Minotaur's eyes widened. He dodged, even after my power boost. What the hell is he? This guy's supposed to be E-rank. Screw it. I'll drown this whole place in lava. With a furious roar, he slammed his axe into the ground, tearing open a molten fissure. Let the lava reduce you to ash. But instead of being incinerated, Li Yi stood calmly atop the flowing magma, completely unharmed. He smirked. So this is what shadow enhancement can do. And that's just level 1. I wonder what full power feels like. With a mocking grin, he called out, "Hey, Mr. Furnace, was that supposed to be hot? Feels like bathwater to me. This can't be happening." The lava Minotaur stammered, eyes wide in disbelief as fear crept into his voice. Li stepped forward with a chilling grin. "You look like you were having fun swinging that axe earlier. Now it's my turn." With shadow enhancement active, Li Yi's defense, strength, and speed all skyrocketed. He charged straight at the lava Minotaur with a vicious slash. In the next second, the Minotaur's supposedly unbreakable arm shattered into rubble. The creature stared in shock. He couldn't believe his arm had been severed so easily. "You're dead meat," the Minotaur roared, swinging his other fist at Li Yi in a rage. But Li Yi didn't flinch. In his enhanced state, even a charged strike could unleash deadly power from a distance. Sure enough, the Minotaur's other arm exploded into stone fragments too. Yet the beast just grinned wickedly. As long as there was lava around, he could regenerate endlessly, and both of his arms grew back in an instant. Li Yi scoffed. "Endless regeneration? I doubt it. Your energy's clearly fading." Enraged, the lava Minotaur let out a furious roar and lunged with both axes raised high. Li met the charge head-on, his twin blades clashing with the giant axes in a series of thunderous strikes. After several clashes, the Minotaur's arms began to shrink and lose strength. "What the hell?" he snarled in disbelief. Li Yi stepped forward, blade pointed at his opponent. "You're running on empty. Be smart. Surrender while you still can." Seeing the tide turn, the lava Minotaur panicked. "Wait. We don't have any personal grudge, do we? No need to go all out." Li Yi smirked. "True, but Qin Xin paid me $1 million to keep her safe." "Money's not a problem," the Minotaur blurted. "Hand her over, and once we're back in Rome City, I'll give you 5 million if that's what you want. Back in Rome City, huh? Li narrowed his eyes. What's stopping you from ghosting me? Or worse, coming after me with your gang? The shrinking lava minotaur broke into a cold sweat. No, no, I swear, I'm not that kind of backstabbing scum. Li sneered. Oh, thanks for the reminder. A two-faced rat like you. If I hand you over to Qin Xi's father, Qin Shaoshang, I'm sure he'd be very interested. After all, you try to harm his daughter. Saving his daughter and exposing a mole? Getting a personal favor from the ruler of Longmen 3rd Street. That's worth way more than your 5 million. The lava minotaur's face twisted. If I fall into Qin Shaoshang's hands, I'm done for worse than death. And the organization, they go after my family too. Gritting his teeth, he suddenly raised a glowing blue crystal and shouted, "You asked for this, don't blame me." In Li Yi's mind, Qin Tian gasped, "No way. That's a shard of the dimensional prison gate. If he destroys it, this beast abyss will be completely cut off from the outside. The portal will vanish, and no one will ever get out." The lava minotaur had gone completely mad, roaring, "You pushed me to this! Ha ha ha!" But before he could even gloat, Li launched himself like a shadow bolt, snatching the shard of the dimensional prison gate right out of his hand. Without hesitation, he drove his blade straight into the minotaur's exposed weak point on its back. With a thunderous blast, the creature exploded like a ruptured balloon, its body tearing open as energy burst out in all directions. The beast finally collapsed, motionless, and from its remains, a glowing energy core emerged. No wonder the others had none. They were all channeling into this one. As the core merged into Li Yi's body, a wave of power surged through him. His Shadow, I2 skill evolved on the spot, becoming Ultimate Shadow, I. Just as Li Yi was feeling pleased about his upgraded skill, the entire cavern suddenly began to shake violently. Qin Tian warned, "The beast pit is collapsing." It lost the lava minotaur's energy core that was keeping it stable. Moments later, the team had safely made it out. Qin Xian looked at Li Yi in surprise. "I didn't expect you to be this strong, way beyond E level. Ever thought about joining Longmen 3rd Street? My father would definitely reward someone like you well. I'm not planning to join any faction for now. Also, I'd appreciate it if you could keep my powers a secret." "Fair enough. Think it over. Here's 1 million. You've earned it." Then, Li Yi pulled out the massive greatsword. "By the way, do you guys at Longmen 3rd Street buy things like this? This sword, it has no energy signature, but the material looks unusual. I'll need to take it back for evaluation. Don't worry, you'll get every coin it's worth." "All right, I'll wait to hear from you." Li nodded and waved goodbye to Qin Xian and the others. He recalled the way Qin Xian examined the greatsword. She seemed to really know her weapons. If she's the real deal, she might help him sell future gear. But if she turns out to be another Zhou Ting, or if that shady boss Wang, whatever, he already got the million, no regrets. Back at his place, Li Yi began studying the shard of the gate of the other world. "What even is this thing? Is it really that important?" Qin Tian responded, "If you collect enough shards, I can help you reach S-rank power or beyond. The shards of the Otherworld Gate have resurfaced. Could they still be active? I need to recover quickly. This kid might be the key. Someday, we'll have to face beings beyond human comprehension. Should I tell this fool now? No, it's too early. It'd only scare him. Let him grow stronger first." Right now, Li was classified as a D rank. His current abilities included Shadow Archive, Shadow Morph, Ultimate Shadow Eye, and Basic Shadow Enhancement. A few days later, he arrived at the E-rank dimensional zone known as Ghost Field, owned by the NG Corporation. The place had been sealed off ever since a mining disaster. From a ridge in the distance, he watched the entrance carefully. 1 B rank and 3 C rank evolvers were guarding it. That's a serious lineup for just an E-rank zone. As expected, with his current strength, breaking in to uncover the truth was out of the question. Qin Tian asked with confusion, "Isn't it just an E-rank rift? Why are you so obsessed with this place?" "Because that place holds the truth about my parents and their deaths." Li Yi recalled the moment clearly. Someone from NG Corporation slammed a wad of cash onto the table and looked down on him like he was dirt. Here's 200 grand. Consider it compensation from NG. Take it and sign this accidental death agreement. Still just a kid back then, he clenched his fists and said, I don't want your money. I want the truth. I told you. There was an accident. Your parents and the other miners are dead. Accept it. No way. My parents were both C-rank evolvers. There's no way they died in some accident. They're still alive. I just know it. Let me in to find them. Kid, you don't get it. Ghostfield is unpredictable. Even a C rank isn't invincible in there. But it's just an E rank zone. At worst, they'd run into E rank ghouls. My parents could have handled that. The man's face twisted in anger. What? Trying to scam us for more money. Keep pushing it, and you'll wind up dead, boy. Just when Li thought he was about to get beaten, Chairman Ning Donghao of NG Corporation, an A-rank evolver, walked in. Didn't I say to handle the victims' families properly? This is what you call handling? Kid, take the money for now. It's not much, just 200,000, but it might help with your current situation. As for the accident, we'll get to the bottom of it. You have my word. Back then, Li truly believed that with the chairman's promise, the truth behind his parents' death would soon come to light. What he got instead was a fabricated charge of theft pinned on them and a multi-million-dollar bill demanding compensation. Hearing the story, Qing Tian, still in his energy-saving mode, muttered coldly, no matter what species you are, without power, you're nothing but a stepping stone. So instead of sitting here sulking, why not focus on gathering more fragments of the Otherworld Gate? Once you've got overwhelming power, all those so-called truths can be rewritten with a single sentence. Li grumbled. Do you really need to remind me? If your shadow energy wasn't completely undetectable, and if I wasn't flagged as an E-rank miner, I'd have been invited to a team ages ago. Seriously though, this guy flip-flops between trying to hijack my body and helping me level up. Is he a hero or a villain? And what's with him shrinking? Don't tell me his powers are shrinking too. If he really is some lunatic, maybe that talk about reaching S rank was just nonsense. Qing Tian snapped, completely losing it. You brat. I only bother with you because you've got some potential. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste a single breath. Just then, Li Yi's phone chimed. A new mission invite had just come in. In no time, Li Yi arrived at the mission site, outside the D-class dimensional rift known as the Chemical Sector Gate to the Underworld. Two people were already waiting by the entrance. To his surprise, one of them was a familiar face. Uncle Hao, long time no see. You're part of Mission 2. Look at you, all grown up. It's been 5 years since your parents' accident, Uncle Hao said with a heavy sigh. Nearby, a few mercenaries scoffed impatiently. Seriously? We've been standing around waiting for a damn miner. A man in a suit quickly explained, Sorry, this mission involves some mining work, that's why. A burly mercenary named Gouda jabbed a finger at the suit. Cut the crap and tell us the mission already. The man nodded nervously. Right. This rift is a D-class anomaly. Your task is to locate a rare mineral called Xian Ice, and extract at least 60 kilos of it. Li Yi glanced at the group and silently wondered, a D-class rift, and they brought in 4 C-class elites? That's total overkill. What's worse, the murderous aura coming from those four made it clear. They were anything but friendly. Even more unsettling. He could faintly sense another C-class presence hidden within the rift itself. Meanwhile, in a remote location, a red-haired man stared at a live video feed on his phone, showing Li Yi and the others. A cruel smirk crept across his face. The toys are all in place. Let the hunt begin. That man was none other than Snow Leopard, the second in command of the infamous Black Panther gang.